Welcome to Revamped Analysis. If you enjoy watching countries mismanage money on a planetary scale, hit subscribe. It won't fix the economy, but it'll make the collapse way more entertaining.
1970 opens with suspicious optimism. Economies grow, factories hum, and politicians act like they've finally discovered the secret recipe for eternal prosperity. Economists nod proudly, unaware they're about to be thrown into historical embarrassment. Then, the United States abandons the gold standard. Currencies begin floating like nervous swimmers without lifeguards, and suddenly the world realizes the financial system was held together by vibes and confidence. The decade seems manageable until oil prices explode. Inflation surges, factories stall, and nations learn the uncomfortable truth. Their economies run on a resource controlled by people they've never listened to. A shaky recovery appears, but nobody trusts it. Every policy feels experimental, like fixing a plane mid-flight using duct tape and optimism. Then another oil shock hits. Inflation returns louder, angrier, and now wearing steel-toed boots. Experts invent the word stagflation, hoping a new term will disguise old confusion. The 1970s stumbled to an end, exhausted, broke, and desperately pretending this was all part of a plan.
1980 begins with inflation clinging to the world economy like gum that refuses to let go. Central banks crank interest rates so high that entire nations get altitude sickness. And suddenly, everyone remembers that borrowing money isn't supposed to feel like skydiving without a parachute. Recessions ripple through economies, businesses panic, and households discover that dreams, unfortunately, cannot be used as legal tender. But in the midst of chaos, Japan hits turbo mode. Electronics, cars, gadgets, everything works flawlessly and lasts forever. Western CEOs sweat profusely while pretending they're not worried at all. Meanwhile, Europe signs treaties and rearranges its economies like someone redecorating a living room, hoping the right furniture placement will fix structural issues. China quietly opens the door to capitalism, attracting foreign investment like a future superpower collecting cheat codes. Then comes 1987. Markets crash so hard even Wall Street traders briefly considered developing emotions. Yet optimism magically returns because humanity has the memory of a goldfish. The decade ends convinced it has mastered the economy, while sitting on top of a bubble no one wants to acknowledge.
The 1990s begin with the Soviet Union collapsing like a flat-pack bookshelf assembled without the instructions. Entire economies shrink, industries vanish, and millions of people learn that capitalism doesn't come with a user manual or a refund policy. While Eastern Europe tries to reboot itself, the rest of the world discovers its new obsession: globalization. Trade barriers fall, money moves across borders faster than gossip, and CEOs realize they can hire someone on the other side of the planet for the price of a sandwich. The internet arrives, chaotic and unstoppable, promising a future where machines do everything except reduce confusion. China ramps up manufacturing, turning into the world's factory so quickly the planet forgets how to make its own socks. Meanwhile, the United States rides a tech boom built on enthusiasm, caffeine, and business plans written on napkins. Then 1997 hits. The Asian financial crisis sweeps through markets, reminding everyone that rapid growth comes with rapid faceplants. The decade ends inflating a dot-com bubble so big it practically waves at the millennium like, "Don't worry, I won't explode."
The 2000s begin with the dot-com bubble popping like a party balloon in a room full of overconfident millionaires. Overnight, visionary tech founders transform back into unemployed guys with expensive chairs, and investors suddenly claim they were never convinced anyway.
Markets wobble, but the recovery arrives faster than common sense, largely because China becomes the world's industrial cheat code. If it can be manufactured, China manufactures it. And if it can't, China figures out how. The rest of the world happily outsources everything, including its dignity. Europe launches the euro, hoping a shared currency will produce shared responsibility. Spoiler, shared arguments arrive much faster. Emerging economies like India, Brazil, and Russia surge, and analysts invent flashy acronyms like BRICS so they can sound important on television. Then comes 2008. Housing collapses, banks implode, and global GDP falls faster than a phone dropped without a case. Governments bail out everyone, like exhausted parents paying yet another repair bill. The decade ends staring at the wreckage, promising, with a straight face, to learn from mistakes.
The 2010s begin like a massive cleanup operation after a party nobody remembers agreeing to. The global economy is hungover, confused, and surrounded by broken financial furniture. The United States sobers up quickly, flexing its recovery like nothing happened. Europe, meanwhile, drags itself forward like someone trying to run with a mattress on their back. Then comes the Eurozone debt crisis. Southern Europe discovers that borrowing endlessly has consequences, shocking news to absolutely no one, and austerity becomes the new diet plan nobody wants to follow. China keeps expanding, but slower, like a marathon runner who finally realized sprinting forever is impossible. India rises enthusiastically, powered by a young population and reforms that sometimes behave. Tech giants grow into digital empires. Smartphones take over humanity. Your data becomes currency. Privacy becomes folklore. By the end of the decade, growth continues, but everyone senses something bad is lurking behind the curtain. And in perfect dramatic timing, the economy whispers, "You're not ready for what comes next."
The 2020s open with a pandemic that shuts the world faster than a laptop with low battery. Supply chains collapse, governments print money like toddlers with crayons, and inflation arrives dressed for revenge. Energy markets implode, interest rates skyrocket, and everyone pretends they understand economics. The future looks exciting, terrifying, and wildly overpriced. Thanks for watching. If you learned nothing, congratulations. You now think like a central bank.